Here today, I'm going to be revealing distinctions for many of the different toxin binders that are out there to help clear up confusion and help you to choose your binders with confidence. If this information gets overwhelming at some point or you want all of the details, I actually created a 25-page ebook that goes into all of the specifics, and you can let me know in the comments if you want that book. I'm Sienna Songbird, detox enthusiast, founder of the Liberate Your Liver movement, which has now helped over 100 people get started with liver flushing just in the last year. Okay, let's get into it. Binders are awesome because they help save our body the work of laboriously dealing with every single speck of toxin, which is helpful because in this day and age, our bodies are pretty overwhelmed. And today, with the situation that we're in, binders are almost a requirement to healing from chronic disease, recovering your health, or preventing some kind of bad illness. So, and especially if you are involved with detoxing your body to any degree, it's really important to consider what kind of binders you have on board. So, what are some of the things we use binders to bind? Mold and mycotoxins is one of them. Volatile organic compounds, also known as VOCs, excess hormones and xenohormones, which are kind of like fake plastic hormones that we as humans have created and brought into the environment. Also nanoplastics, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, including as a major one, glyphosate, and of course, a big one, heavy metals, and as I like to include, light metals like aluminum. So in terms of binders, we have a few different categories of binders. We have fiber binders. We have food-like binders that, give kind of as much as they take. We have mineralizing binders, and we have sort of like blanket binds everything binders. So let's get into a few of these specific binders that people often use. First of all, on the most basic level, we can use vegetable fiber as a binder. So this is kind of like if you're juicing. I love this point. Dr. Klinghardt, one of my teachers, talks about that if you're juicing, you're into juicing, right? You should actually give the sickest person in the household, you should give them not the juice, but the pulp, because of how helpful that fiber is for binding. So it kind of goes against some of our ideas around juicing and things like that, but you can actually use fiber just from food and vegetables it's kind of like a basic generalized mild binder. And if you want to sort of step it up a notch, you can look at a really high density of soluble fiber, which is more in what you're going to see in beans and legumes and psyllium husk if you can't do beans or legumes. But the soluble fiber in beans and legumes is especially becoming well known for helping to bind the toxic bile that's come out of the liver that our body actually recycles. So when it's doing that recycling thing, then it's also recycling not just toxins that then get put back into the bloodstream that the liver has to filter out again later, but also both reproductive hormones and stress hormones that are recycling in the body and that we have too much of at this point, especially because we're adding in these sort of stronger synthetic hormones into the system, like the xenoestrogens, etc. So soluble fiber in the form of beans and legumes is a really accessible path to start sort of siphoning off some of that, especially in the bile from the liver. And in the ebook, it gets into all the directions for how to incorporate the soluble fiber beans into your regimen as a medicine as opposed to as a food. You can also look up the bean protocol. So sort of one step beyond that, we have the sort of food like nutritive binders, such as you've probably heard of spirulina and chlorella, both of which are algae from the ocean. Well, actually, chlorella is a freshwater algae, but they are rich in protein, rich in vitamins, rich in minerals, rich in omega-3 fatty acids. They have a lot of antioxidant properties. They have that chlorophyll in them. And so those things, it's like this approach of sort of, you can pull and neutralize things gently, but you're also replacing with those nutrients. I really like these kind of binders as a daily supplement because they don't, they don't leave you, they're not depleting you, they're really adding to your overall vitamin and mineral stores. So I really like that on a daily basis. Then sort of next level, we have the clays, mostly like different types of bentonite clays. They are also remineralizing to some degree, but a little bit less on the food spectrum than the previous ones. And the bentonite clays are also really, really good for mold and mycotoxins. And if you do have constipation, you can use bentonite clay. With a lot of these binders, you want to make sure that you are not getting yourself constipated. So you usually have to increase some of your liquid intake. Just want to mention fulvic and humic acids, which are basically dirt compounds, and they've gotten more popular in the last few years. And what's really crucial and good to know about them is that they help to detoxify glyphosate, which is one of the things that we're having a lot of trouble with. So that's all I can really get into on them at the moment, but you can also find more in the book. The next category would be zeolites. And zeolites, it's a super awesome binder. It is super helpful with heavy metals, and the zeolites are offered in a couple different forms. One is a powdered zeolite, which is also, it's still quite effective and helpful going through the guts. But it mostly stays in the digestive tract, or it sort of pulls things in from there, but stays within the digestive tract. And then they have created like a nanoized, really, really fine, small, sort of suspended particulate of zeolite. And that's in a nano spray. There's a variety of products out there. Some of them are less trustworthy than others. And I'm not sure why, but a lot of the good ones are sold under an MLM kind of situation. If you want recommendations about that, again, it's all in the ebook. But another great thing about the nano zeolite, the spray, the sort of really tiny particles, is that it can cross the blood-brain barrier and help with issues in the brain. So this is really important if you are struggling with detox symptoms that include mental issues, depression and anxiety. And if you're working with like volatile, small chemical compounds, it's also a really good one for that. I just wanted to mention as the next category of binding is silica. And you might not think of this as a binder, but there's a few varieties several forms of silica that you can use that are especially helpful with binding aluminum. And there's this guy, the aluminum man, an awesome professor in the UK, who Huxley is his name. He has sort of spearheaded a lot of work looking at aluminum toxicity in the brain and how to lower our body burden of aluminum. And he's found silica, and especially a silica-rich mineral water, to really help to siphon that aluminum out. And I really do think that it's the aluminum age. We're really suffering from issues from aluminum specifically, especially Alzheimer's and dementia and autism and sort of things on those spectrums. So in the book, I get into a variety of forms of silica that you can use. And one of them that you might know about is diatomaceous earth, which you want to get food grade. It is like powdered fossilized diatoms from, again, a really, really long time ago, a type of marine life. And it's very high in silica. And people mostly know about diatomaceous earth as a binder that can also help destroy pathogens and worms. It can even help your pets with deworming, and things that have an exoskeleton, it basically like destroys them from the inside because it's like really sharp razors and it's really dry. So there's some cautions to take around that. And of course, make sure with all of them to start slowly, but diatomaceous earth in particular is going to have quite a high potential to induce Herxheimer reactions, so die-off and things like that. So you really want to be conscious of working with that, and also making sure that you are increasing your uptake of water. The next one I wanted to talk about is modified citrus pectin. This one has become more popular lately. It's especially helpful in cancer issues and binding that kind of toxicity. It's a little bit more of an expensive one, but some people really swear by it. So that's something to keep in your pocket if you are interested in these kinds of things. And then to sort of close off this this huge dump of binder information, of course, we have the powerhouse of activated charcoal. You can get activated bamboo charcoal, hardwood charcoal, pretty much they all work. This is a inexpensive one, and it's incredibly helpful for food poisoning, diarrhea issues, and it's really important they even use it in industry because and the conventional medical area, because it's just so well known as a toxin sponge. So if you have an emergency or something is really pretty critical, I wouldn't hesitate to hit it with activated charcoal. Great thing to keep on hand in your medical cabinet. And one thing to note about activated charcoal is, again, more fluids, maintain your hydration levels, but activated charcoal has it binds to, it's indiscriminate in its binding abilities. So this is one that I wouldn't recommend necessarily taking on a daily basis because it may bind with your fats, fat soluble vitamins and some other things that we need in our bodies. So use this one more on an as needed basis, whereas some of the other ones you can take in a more ongoing daily way for daily protection. So that was a lot. I know this is why people get confused about binders, but I just wanted to cover some of the basics to show some of these distinctions between them. And again, I did put it all into a document that I will keep updated as I learn more. So if you're interested in having that all laid out at your fingertips, just let me know. And in conclusion, some key things to remember about all the binders is that sourcing and quality is very important. And why is this? It's because they absorb things, so they can themselves be contaminated with toxins depending on the environment they were grown in or the environment that they were sourced from. Another thing to keep in mind with all of the binders is maintaining adequate hydration, usually having to bump up hydration some to make sure that you are still pooping and having bowel movements. You do not want to be getting constipated as you are detoxing in any way. And another general recommendation for binders is to take them away from supplements and food because a lot of them can bind with those nutrients. So I hope this has been really helpful, not too overwhelming. Hope you've gotten some value out of this. And again, if you want all the details in a, steady and succinct place, including some of my favorite product suggestions and links, I made an ebook. It's pretty comprehensive. It's 25 pages and counting. I'm going to be continuing to add it, keep it up to date as I learn more. I'm currently giving it for $10, so please message me ebook and I can get you hooked up if you're interested. Wishing you all a beautiful day. May all beings